Good afternoon and welcome back to another segment of Thoughts and Tips for Real Life Changes, Recess. Now listen, we're going to talk about things that maybe most don't want to talk about that needs to be discussed. What we want to talk about today is a disconnect. Could be thought of as a disconnect between churches and community. And if there is, how did we get here and what do we do next? But first, before I do that, I want to introduce my two special guests. We're going to have a good time here. Let me just first say both of them are the absolute best dressers in the business, right? So I tell you, I may have overdressed a little because I was expecting everybody to be in a tuxedo and all, but just for laughter. But first of all, and first and foremost, I want to wish Pastor Dr. Lockwood happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
And also acknowledge the fact that you are celebrating your 5th anniversary as the pastor at the Mount Mariah Baptist Church.
Yes,
Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And a little about Reverend Dr. Remiel Lockwood. He is a native of Gary, Indiana, so that means he knows Michael Jackson, who began preaching at just 14 years of age, where he delivered his first sermon. Dr. Lockwood holds a degree in Business Administration and Human Resource from Johnson & Wales University, along with a master in divinity and a doctor in ministry and leadership from Liberty University. Temple, Miami, he was called to Temple, Miami. He was called in 2021 to serve as the 7th senior pastor of the Mount Mariah Missionary Baptist Church. He serves in several leadership roles throughout South Florida, is a published and author of multiple faith-based books, and is a very proud father and daddy of Miss Faith and Mr. Joshua Lockwood. Welcome.
Thank you
for being here. And
thank you.
If you notice, I put father and dad, and here's why. Father is the person, the name that goes on the birth certificate, and dad is the name that grows on the child's heart for being a part of their life. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
And our other guest is also a good friend of mine as well, and a pastor, is Pastor Dr. Theo Johnson, Senior Pastor, Sweet Home Missionary Baptist Church in Cutler Ridge Bay, Miami, Florida. Known for his powerful practice, preaching, and deep commitment to community impact, Pastor Johnson has served in ministry for over 2 decades and has led Sweet Home for more than 10 years. Also recognized as Dr. Theo, his message often centers on forgiveness, spiritual growth, and living a life of purpose. A native of Dallas, Texas, he holds a degree from Prairie View A&M University, Dallas, and also of Dallas at Theology Seminary, and also the United Theology Seminary, right?
Theological.
Theological. I do apologize. No problem. He also served in several leadership roles throughout South Florida as well. Pastor Johnson is married to his high school sweetheart, Alicia, and together they are proud parents of 4 children. We honor you. We're honored to have you both here. Okay, But before I start, I want to share something with y'all, and let me see if I can find it, because there is a room out there that maybe I need to talk to you about getting a liability overhead umbrella plan, because I understand that you shake foundations with your message and all, you're tearing up roofs. Is that true?
Yeah, man, that's what they say, but I don't know if it's true.
I sort of witnessed some of it, okay? So, but let's get to the talk. Let's reflect on churches and community. We want to start with, let's talk about, is there a disconnect? Do you feel that there's a disconnect between churches and communities, and why? Dr. Johnson.
Is there a disconnect? In some communities, in some capacity, I would say there is a disconnect. But for me, typically in a Black church, because the Black church is the pillar and I would say the heartbeat of the communities, we try very hard to stay connected to what's going on in the community and have a fingerprint on what's taking place. So I don't necessarily, I do think there's some issues, but I don't say there's necessarily a disconnect. But Dr. Lockwood, you may have some other thoughts on that.
I would say yes and no, to the extent that Dr. Johnson has mentioned. Us leading predominantly African-American churches, we're largely ingrained within the communities that we serve from that dynamic. But in the larger community, I believe that there is a disconnect, especially in the environment in which we live right now. There's so many social issues that's going on around us. And at one while, the church was the answer to many of these ills. And I think to the extent that a lot of the things that are being faced now doesn't necessarily directly impact us. We have somewhat become numb to the issues that face others, and to that extent, I believe there is a disconnect on the larger community scale.
Well explained by both of you. I have a question, Dr. Lockwood. Where do you feel your church footprints in the communities are beyond the walls in your church campus? Where do you feel?
Our footprint can be felt in the way in which we serve young people outside of the walls of our church, and the way in which we serve seniors outside of our church. We have various programs and things that we offer in order to meet the needs of those individuals, whether they are members of our church or non-members of our church, to ensure that that population of individuals within our community are not just served, but served well. We know that based upon everything that's going on around us nowadays, that those two populations are the ones that's most impacted. Our seniors, whether it's having the ability to keep a roof over their head or food in their mouth, our youth, whether it's giving them alternatives to things outside of school or them choosing reckless behavior. So we try to be a buffer between the two so that our footprint can be felt outside of our Sunday morning worship.
Well, I'll be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the fact that I am a member of Mount Mariah
Yes, sir.
Missionary Baptist Church, and this is my pastor here.
Yes.
And I wanted to make sure I made that known. Dr. Johnson, how do you think reconnecting with the community could help rebuild an engagement with youth and families?
Well, for me, I feel like that's why it's always necessary to have the footprint in the community, because I feel personally that the church needs to be a friend of the community. Like if our church were to shut down today, my question is, who did it impact? What needs were met? What people were blessed as a result of it? And so as a result, we try to keep that footprint, like Dr. Lockwood was saying, is in terms of making sure our youth are connected, make sure our seniors are connected. Matter of fact, what we started, this whole phrase "beyond the walls" is something that I kind of phrased for our church maybe 12, 13 years ago, Church Beyond the Walls, because while we are in the walls within that 11 o'clock hour or some 8 o'clock, whatever it is, there is life outside of those walls. And so the church should always, when the church leaves, when we get a benediction, the church has just left the building. That's where the real work, in my opinion, begins. And so I think that we have to have this footprint so that we can continue to rebuild the trust in the community, restore relationships, and remain relevant to that community. And so I just pray, and I know Dr. Lockwood does the same thing. We want to make sure that we are constantly boots on the ground in our community, because it's not just about Sunday, it's about every day.
I think I can speak on behalf of these two gentlemen. This is just not something they're talking about. This is actually something they're acting on. It's something that I have witnessed them both doing in the community. So I want to acknowledge that as well. But I want to rephrase your question, Dr. Johnson. If you make the statement, if your church was not, let's just say if a person left your church didn't open next Sunday for whatever reason, would that individual say, I lost a service or I lost a community?
I would pray that they would say they lost a family.
A family.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. For me, the impact goes beyond, as I stated, the Sunday. I want to make sure that we minister to the whole man and woman or child of God. So for me, people transition for all different type of reasons, but for me, I pray that the presence of our ministry has been felt so much that it will be considered a loss.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. George, I believe is George or somebody Barna. Is it George Barna?
George Warner.
George Barna has a thing where they ask the question that if your church were to shut down today, would anybody care?
Exactly.
Right?
That's actually one of our questions.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Would the church be missed? Right?
Absolutely. Would anybody notice?
Would anybody notice that the doors are closed?
Yes.
And that's a relevant question. And that was posed many years ago, but it's still a relevant question today. In that, if all we do is come to a building to have worship experience, and the hands and feet of Christ is not felt outside of the building, then we've just wasted time, right? We're supposed to be the hands and the feet of Christ to show. He says, "When I was naked, did you clothe me? When I was hungry, did you feed me?" And those are the things that we are commissioned to do, and those things happen outside of a worship experience. And so I think, to Dr. Johnson's point, that is not only the job of the church, but it's the commission that we all have to go out and show the love of Christ to others.
Great. Let me ask you, Dr. Lockwood, how do your church programs encourage real, lasting relationships beyond Sunday?
Well, it starts, I believe, in the church. And I say that because most of our impact that we make largely is based upon those that are connected. However, those that are connected should be able to take those same things that have been poured into them and now take it and pour it into others. Part of our responsibility as men and women of the gospel is to be able to create disciples who create disciples who create disciples. And whether those disciples are a part of our local congregations or not, if we are doing our job to impact those that are within the sphere of our influence, and then they go out and make lasting impacts into the lives of others, then we've done what we're supposed to do. And so I believe that the way in which it becomes real is because I cannot transform your life just by coming and saying something to you without having a relationship with you, right? So the fact that I have relationship with you now presents an opportunity for us to now experience transformation. And that transformation comes from many different ways, but mostly from transparency. Me knowing that whatever it is that I'm navigating, you've been there. You know what that's like. And you can give me a word of encouragement that doesn't come from head space, but it comes from lived experience. And based upon that, those things make it real for people. We can see the divinity even while navigating the humanity.
Love it.
Excellent response.
Yeah.
Let's talk about pastoral care. I saw it in reaction on the other evening. How does your church ensure people don't feel invisible when life gets pretty messy at times? And I want to just say I commend you because I saw you in a position the other evening due to a crisis situation, and I saw a soldier, I saw a leader at work, and I commend you for that. And I know both of you, I know how hard you as a pastor get out and see people when they're ill, when there's issues, how you get behind folks. So tell me, please, how does your church ensure people don't feel invisible when life gets sort of tough?
Well, the reality is I explained to our congregation that no one should walk this journey alone. No one walks alone. And so for me, I think that's the job of a shepherd. That's a job of leadership, is to get down where the people are. And so for me, it's not just me being on the pulpit preaching on Sunday. It's after service is over, I'm hugging as many people as I possibly can. Sure. And it's at that time that I get to hear what's going on in their lives. I hear what the struggles are. And so as you stated last evening, we had a crisis, tragic situation that happened. I was there. And a young man asked me, "Man, is this what you see on a consistent basis?" And unfortunately, yes, I've been here 15 plus years now, and I've seen so many things. Listen, I had never done a funeral before I got here. I've done over 350.
Wow.
And so that in itself is indicative of the trauma, the pain, the trials that people go. I do hundreds of counseling sessions a year, and I've seen people at their highest of highs and their lowest of lows. And so we just make sure that when life gets messy, we have a message for them, but we also let them know that we're there to walk with them.
Yeah. I think sometimes you all are so good at what you do, you make what you do look easy, but it's not easy.
No.
And with that being said, how do you create those boundaries and those balance for yourself, for your own peace of mind?
I wish I had the answer. That's the real answer. I wish I've had to learn how to create boundaries and have balance, because when you are dealing with a ministry that's sizable, there's so many people that pull on you, and no matter how much infrastructure you may have in place, people are connected to their pastor. And they want their pastor. They want to see their pastor. They want to hear from their pastor. And so it becomes hard because the pastor's heart is one that desires to be present with those, especially when they are navigating a crisis in their lives. And so the challenge becomes balancing their crisis with your crisis. And unfortunately, the truth is that many people in the pew don't consider that the pulpit also has issues and needs and family and this and that and the other. And so it becomes a hard task, because the moment you choose your family, your congregation don't understand. The moment you choose your congregation, sometimes your family don't understand. And you're caught in the middle of that. And so it becomes difficult, but with the help of the Lord and the grace and the grace of God, you navigate through it.
Yeah, I was going to say really quickly, one thing I've learned is the old adage from being on the airplane: you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can anybody else. So I had to learn. I was going through a bit of depression at some point when I was pastoring. I was doing so many funerals and seeing so many heartbreaking situations that I had started going in a dark place. What I did, I started learning I'm going to care for myself. So I started disconnecting, because one of the things I recognize is when you're in town, something happens. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Like Dr. Lockwood was saying, you can be at a place with your family and crisis happens. They expect you to stop what you're doing and go there. So what I've learned how to do is disconnect by traveling, disconnect by spending quality time with myself, so that I know this is the time that I have. Any crisis that happen, I'm not Jesus. And this is what I told my congregation: Jesus died for you so that I don't have to die for you. I don't have to die for you. So I've lived by that, because I want to be healthy for my family. I want to be healthy for me. And a healthy pastor will have a healthy church.
Well, great response, but I want to go to Dr. Lockwood. What concerns you most about our current state of our community, and why?
I don't know where to start.
Let's start where your thoughts are, because this is thoughts and tips.
There's so many concerns about the current state of our community, current state of our world. It is. It's disheartening. It is difficult to navigate, but locally, I'll start there, I guess. Locally, we see that our community is shifting. We see that prices are rising. We see gentrification happening. We see a shift in cultural dynamics. We see a shift in financial dynamics. We see many different shifts that's taking place. And to that degree, the church still has to find a way to be relevant, in a sense that it speaks a word of hope in a situation that seems to be decaying on a daily basis. And so with that, it becomes interesting as you continue to seek the Lord for answers and solutions and words that will be preached that would lift the hearts and minds of those that are navigating real life situations where, they don't know if they're going to be employed. Folks don't know whether their family is going to be snatched off the street. Folks don't know if they go to the store, if they're going to come back home. All kinds of things are happening all around us. And the places that you once could go to feel safe, now you no longer feel safe. And so that's my assessment.
Good. Great. Let me ask you, what would be considered a method of course, a recourse for a reset in terms of people, GPS, and how they navigate these changes in our community? Because I can tell you, I grew up in Homestead, and there's a lot that's changed, and I'm happy to be able to say that I'm from down south in Homestead. But what, from a spiritual standpoint, as a church and leader of church, what's your thoughts and opinions? Not opinion, but what advice do you give? Where do you start?
So when I think kingdom, what I think is we have to prepare our people for the seasons ahead. They tell me that Wayne Gretzky was so great at hockey because he anticipated where the puck was going, not where it was right now. And so what I've been telling our congregation for the last 12, 13 years is this community is changing. But how do we stay vibrant? How do we stay solid economically, educationally, socially? I personally think that we have to do, in my opinion, a better job of building our community through our church so that it's not depending on who's right there right now, but having an entity where, I would just be honest with you, like a Black Wall Street, hey, something that's sustainable, that's viable, that regardless of who comes in and comes out, because one of the challenges we're facing is the brain drain. You have kids who graduate from high school, leave, and I have had hundreds of kids come to our church. We raised them up, we celebrated them for graduation, and they have not come back because for whatever reason, I don't feel Miami is either affordable or attractive for them. So we're trying to come up with a way to say, how can we make our community more attractive for that age group to come back? But it is a challenging time. But
let me ask you, do you feel that we as a community is too hybrid dependent on other people's resources?
Well, I don't know how to necessarily answer that question. I would say I think we need to find ourselves being more self-sustaining and maintaining so that we don't have to depend on other people's resources. And regardless of who's in the office from a political standpoint, we're able to maintain and sustain so we can put people to work. We can give credit. We can have shops available and put employment in the community. And that's really what my prayer is that we're trying to look for right now, is to have a village within a community within a community so that we can have some self-sustaining opportunities for our people growing up as they come through Miami, because it is changing. It's going to change, but we want to be a beacon of hope for our community.
Well, I have this thing that's called the 4 Ps. Prior planning prevents panicking.
Planning prevents panicking. I like that.
And why I say that, because you talked about preparation, and behind every great accomplishment, it follows phenomenal preparation. It just doesn't happen overnight. Any thoughts on that, Dr. Lockwood?
I believe that wholeheartedly. That if you fail to plan, you fail to succeed. So you don't
plan to fail.
Nothing just happens by osmosis. I know that there are people who believe that it does, and so what you put in is what you get out. And that's just a truth. And so I totally agree with that assessment. And as you know, in our church, we've deemed this year to be the year a divine execution, where we are believing that the plans of God become realized in our lives. And we've been dealing with this whole idea of planning and blueprints and all of these types of things and what that looks like and how to unpack that in order to make sure that we realize what it is that we envision, right? The vision starts one way, but in order to realize that, there's some things that has to be done to get you to that place. And so I totally agree with those 4 P's. And don't be mad if you hear them again.
Okay. Hey, listen, I won't charge you. Thank you. Let me ask you all this question: how essential is it for churches to have a dedicated financial ministry? If you could take a few minutes, because we're getting down close. Ministry that focus on the 4 basic financial principles as it relates to budgeting, long-term emergency savings, risk mitigation, and better financial management behavior. Here's why I ask people this question, because I think a lot of our social issues somewhat can be solved by economic empowerment.
Absolutely.
I always tell people, when you wake up in the morning and you have a toothache and you don't have a dental plan, you have a problem. You wake up in the morning, you have a dental plan, you just got a situation, you just got to choose who you're going to go see. So how essential is that, if you take about a minute or two?
For me, it's very essential. I mean, the church is made up of the people. The church cannot be financially well off and the people not be. So they need to be financially empowered and have literacy, because it does us no good if only a few people are doing well. I want the entire congregation to be out of debt, to be able to invest, to have retirement. So we do a good job of making sure that we have programs and processes in place to help people know how to navigate financially, because it's more than just giving to the church. We want you to be able to survive and thrive in life.
Give me a quick response, Dr. Lockwood, please.
I wholeheartely agree with what Dr. Johnson said.
I like that response. I love that response. And you're absolutely right. But I just want to take a minute. I want to acknowledge your book here. For anybody who's looking for some good reading. This gentleman is also an author, and I just want everybody to see this, because this is mine. I'm claiming it. Okay, so thank you for bringing this for me. But no, he has some great material out there that is life-changing. But before I end, how are we educating our congregation on these important 4 basic finance? Real quickly.
Financial empowerment seminars and various things like that. To be honest, at our church, we have not been as instrumental as we can be as it relates to those things. We've had some offshoot type workshops, but to the extent now that it is probably more necessary and essential to build that into the main frame of how we do ministry. Because it's hard to ask people to pay tithes when they're trying to figure out how they're going to keep a roof over their head, right? And so one of the things that is important is that we teach people how to manage their finances, how to budget, how to strategize, how to do those types of things. Because if they can take care of their house, they'll be more apt to take care of God's house.
Thank you.
I love it.
Yeah.
So listen, I got a feeling you'll definitely be making that happen here very soon, okay?
Yes.
But listen, I want to thank you gentlemen for coming on, joining me. It was a great segment. I hope to bring you all back. But before I ask you all, before we stop this recording, I want to share something with y'all, because you all know I'm big on youth, right? So what I decided to do, it was put on my heart to make a donation to your youth ministry.
All right.
Because you all know, outside of my professional as a financial consultant, I also have a mentoring program. And one thing I truly believe in, by investing in our kids now, we're investing in our future later, right? So I'm going to present this check to you for your youth ministry.
Bless you, sir.
To Dr. Lockwood, I'll give you that.
Man.
Appreciate it.
Anybody, we're coming up on Black History real quickly. We have about, we're good. Anybody you want to give flowers who has impacted your life?
From Black History?
Black History. It could be someone from the past. It doesn't have to be anybody you know in particular, but just anyone. Role model.
The person that's impacting my life right now greatly is Jasmine Crockett.
Great. Great. Great.
A
Great.
warrior for justice.
All right. Great.
And so
Give me your.
I'm grateful for her life, her witness, her stance, her fight in the face of injustice, and I'm giving her flowers.
She's in my hometown, Dallas, Texas. I also want to give it up to Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes, who's running for her position now. They're doing a wonderful work, not only in the kingdom, but in our country.
And then always know you have the power over your path based on the choices you make. Remember, the choices you make will make you. Thank you, gentlemen.